Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast about beer and video games. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 261. I am here with Lucy.
Hello, I am here.
Good, perfect. I'm glad you're here. And someone else I'm glad that is here is Aadil. Hey!
Hi, I'm here as well.
Good. I'm glad we're all present.
No, I'm here.
Yes. We're a podcast about beer and video games. If you're a beery person, we'll give you a little bit of, games. Come to us. Let us tell you what we've been playing, the things that we enjoy, and see if there's some little games in there that we can lead you to. Or if you're a gamey person, maybe there's some beers that we can put you onto, or you'd like to know what beer styles we enjoy and maybe what you would like the flavours of. We're going to explore all of that as we do every week. First, the beers. Aadil, what are you going to start off with this week?
I've got a... Oh, is that the right one? Oh, I did it again. I totally meant to swap these. But that's okay. Because I didn't want to have two very strong beers, but I accidentally grabbed two very strong beers.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, can't go wrong. It's not the worst thing in the world. Worst things have happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to start with the Dolce Cup. Ooh,
the who?
Being all blurry because of my camera. There we go.
Dolce who?
Cup. The Dolce Cup, which is a Imperial Milk Stout in collaboration with Old Hickory Brewery. It's Brouwerij, Poesiat, and Kater. So it's a Dutch brewery. I think they're in Amsterdam, and they are collabing with Old Hickory Brewery. Dolce Cup is an Imperial Milk Stout with water, malted bark, or aromatic caramelized chocolate malt, dulce de leche, malted oat, bittering hops are Magnum and Sriracha Ace, and it is healthy 9%.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Starting off light for the evening.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just catching up to you over the past few weeks.
Can't be helped, can it? Sometimes big beers are everything. Lucy, what are you going to... Or are you drinking this evening? I can see something.
I'll have a beer. It's still a bit too cold, so I probably won't open it right now.
Okay.
I'll probably follow you guys. Maybe in the first topic I'll open it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the Schmore Tonkoko. I think I've definitely had a Tonkoko from Brew York.
Yep.
On the podcast before. Don't know if it was a Schmore. Might have been. It is a marshmallow, coconut, cacao, tonka, and vanilla milk stout, 4.3%. Yeah, it's got oats in it, crystal 400, torrefied wheat, chocolate, roast barley, and crystal 150. Yeah, I'm sure I've had this exact one on before, but yeah, it's a stout from Brew York.
You've definitely had a Tonkoko stout from Brew York.
Yeah.
I can't remember the adjunct that went with it, or even if it was just their base Tonkoko stout as well. I'm sure we've all had that at some point too.
They're good. The Empress Tonkoko is real good as well.
What's the Empress? They got up to about 11 or 12%, doesn't it?
I don't know if that one's that high. It might be. Let's have a look.
Fact check.
Empress Tonkoko is... I don't want the price. I want the ABV.
Don't they correlate?
Practically.
12 quid. 12%. Done.
10.6%.
Okay. Yeah. Fair. Right. Nice. All right. Okay, I am going to open a beer from Arbor, but it's a correlation with Arbor. Harbour and Arbor.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it's an
already
IPA.
Got a headache.
It's a 7% IPA. It's got the malts are wheat, lager, barley, and caramel. The yeast is BRY97, and the hops are Azaka, Citra, Galaxy, Brew One, and Sabro in it. It's 7%. Both of my beers this evening are local based, Arbor being sort of just down the road, because it would normally be on the bank holiday weekend in May coming up, the East Bristol Brewery Trail, which I don't believe is happening this year. It happened virtually last year because of everything going on, but I thought I'd stick a little bit local this week with my beers. So I'm going to crack this one first. Aadil, we'll come back to you.
I did a bad pour, and it's taking forever to. Look at this head, though.
All the
It's
bubbles.
It's like an ant farm. Like it's got like little microcosms inside of it. This will take a while. I'll go after you. Lucy, you didn't crack your beer, right?
My bad.
Yeah, I
pour quick.
great timing.
Just dunk your head in it.
Pour quick.
I mean,
pour quick.
I can at least talk about the nose. Oh wow! So it's really light, slightly toffee, but you're getting that dulce de leche, really, really like that sweet milk immediately. It's so smooth smelling, and just with a hint of like roasted malts, a little coffee maybe. And mostly just sort of like a little burnt, and just this lovely sweet milky nose. I will just. Ooh. I mean, it kind of tastes like it smells.
Mm-hmm. Got through that froth.
Well, it's the nice thing about the head being so solid is it just kind of stays
Floats on the level.
Sort of floats aside and lets the liquid get by. Yeah. So those roasted malts are coming through a lot more. There's a slight dankness actually, right on the tail of the finish. I think what's really the thing that I was checking the tin for was this caramelized chocolate malt, and I think that's actually that coupled with the dulce de leche is giving this really like nice sweetness with this toffee sort of rolled together, which is very, very satisfying. It's much more like a desserty because of all the sweetness, because of the milk stout and the dulce de leche.
Nice.
But that burntness is giving it a little more depth, some more density in the taste. And like I said, there's just a little bit of hoppiness also happening in it, which like more so than you would think in a stout. And so it's got a little bit more of a beer finish. So after the burnt sort of starts to fade back, you get a bit of this dank hoppiness, and then also this dulce de leche is just sort of sitting really low but constantly, and so it sort of finishes a little hoppy and a little sweet, which is really interesting for something that's very much an imperial milk stout for the rest of the taste, to finish more kind of like a sweet IPA almost, just because the hops are kind of sticking around a little longer than the malts. Very interesting beer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna pour the rest of it now.
Nice. Good job. This beer, it's come out really sort of a deep brown. Like it's not even quite bronzy. It's sort of quite dirty in colour.
Almost reddish, like amber.
Yeah, very much. Maybe not on camera, but to me it does look a little bit more brown, a little bit more dirty. Really light nose, like incredibly light. Not getting much off of it at all. But in the flavour, there's a lot going on. There's loads in this. You're kind of met by this very sort of sweet fruit, which turns sort of a little bit stewy, like a slight little hint of something like licorice or something just on the back there, and then kind of gives you a bit more of a coconutty sort of flavour as well. And all of those fold into each other, so they all follow on from each other and kind of all come together to sort of present this very, I don't know, it's like this really hard flavour. Using solid measurements to tell you what my beer is like. It's like this hard flavour. It's not too bitter, but it's kind of, it feels just quite blunt. It's interesting because all of this stuff's going on, but then you just sort of like, bam, there it is. See ya. And it's just like, oh, cool, okay, all right. Thanks for that little bit of flavour as it goes through, but then you're leaving me not with very much at all.
Okay. Short-lived. There's no finish. Long finish.
There's not a long finish. That sort of coconut sticks around a little bit, but it's gone. I sipped it 5, maybe 10 seconds ago now, and it's pretty much gone. It's not that dry in that it's not wanting me to reach for it anymore and try to get some more from it. It just is what it is. It's just the flavour is done, and it's kind of like, yeah, come back to it when you want. Don't rush it. Don't get the 7%. Doesn't feel that big. It's a little bit sort of medium in body, so it's not a big beer. It's just kind of just a beer. It's all right. It's okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah.
It's better than bad.
That's true. It's better than like a drain pour. I will absolutely kick back and drink this without, having too much trouble doing so. So we'll crack into things then, I suppose. And Lucy, you chime in
Lucy,
whenever.
hold on.
The measuring
finally
jug
the
is
illustrious
back. Yeah.
return of the measuring
The
cup.
cameo, yes.
It's been a while. Lately, you've been doing like water bottles and like small glasses. And...
Jug's always got to come back.
Oh, the Beer Jesus. Hey, the Beer Jesus. How you doing?
Oh, hey.
Lucy, yes. Crack your beer whenever you're ready. Just let us know when it's sort of warmed up a little bit.
Still a bit too cold.
We haven't quite hit the, we can go through the night and see if we can get the cameo bingo going. Dorian starts screaming at the door and Kim appears out of nowhere to get the trifecta of cameos for the evening. But let's launch into our topics then for tonight. Who would like to kick us off? I know there's probably lots of games for us to talk about because we had a very beery episode last week with Andy from Vault City, so we didn't get into talking about too many games. So there's a couple of weeks of games to get to.
Yeah, I'll kick off unless you wanted to, Aadil.
No, go for it. I
first.
just couldn't remember which game I played last week, but I definitely want to talk about it.
Yeah, mine are basically all indie games, so I'm not gonna dwell on them too long.
Sure.
I'll start off with a game that I literally got given today, and it's a Lucy game, because as you lot know, I'm a word game nerd, and this is basically just word ladders. You get the rungs and you change a different letter every rung. It's that just on a modern console instead of on pen and paper, and it's like the perfect intersection of my love for just nerdy word games and achievements. So
Xbox?
Yeah, I got it on Xbox. But it's just simply a word ladder. Everyone knows what a word ladder is, and it's that. But you're just
word ladder.
Is that what it's called? Word ladder.
It's called Ladders by POWGI. POWGI. They've got a whole suite of like these.
I understand what these are now.
Yeah, word ladders. You'll know it when you see it. Just Google word ladders. But yeah, they've got a whole suite of different word games. They've got like crosswords, and they've got like word Sudoku, and it's just like, yes, it's
Wordoku?
Yeah, it's very much my jam. But there's really not much to say other than it's like ladders, but it's on a game console. I wish it was on.
It's on the back of a paper.
Yeah, I wish it was on like Play Anywhere, where Xbox is fancy corporate term for you can play it on PC and you can play it on Xbox and cross.
So you can play it on your tablet
and everything. That would be nice. This probably is an iOS or Android version for it. The games are everywhere. I think I've heard some of them on Switch, which would be a good place to play them. But on PS4, or even still one that's on like Vita. Long live the Vita. But yeah, it's word ladders, and I think funny enough, the market for this is probably 1% people like me who like word games, and 99% people who just want to get like 1,000 G worth of achievements.
Right.
But yeah, it's a little word game. You got this funky music playing in the background, which you can turn off, thank God. and you've got like there's a dad joke every time you complete like one of them, and
I mean, this sounds intriguing.
yeah, and given my levels of humour, it seems right on the money. So yeah, word ladder, good.
What's it called again? Sorry.
It's called Ladders by POWGI. I think the rest of it's from a publisher called Littlewood Games, or developer. But yeah, they got tons of them.
How was POWGI spelled? POWGY.
Yeah, Prisoner of War GI. Yeah, that's how I choose to spend my days.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I just thought I'd have a look on my phone on the Android store to see if there was anything on there. I searched POWGI and nothing has come up, but loads of word search, word flow, word connector, word blocks, those kinds of word doku.
Yes.
They all kind of come up. So other people must have searched it and it's kind of linked those tags or something from other places. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be on Android.
Yeah, because on Apple Arcade they put a crossword app on the subscription when they just dropped I think they dropped 30 games one week, and that was one of them. And it's because I love the New York Times crossword, and they do a mini every day, and that game is basically just tons of mini crosswords. So it's okay, I've got the New York Times and I've got that on top of it, and now I've got Ladders by POWGI. So
nice.
Words for days.
You get no work done now. It's like let's have another little crossword break. It's fine.
Yes. The other game I wanted to talk about. In fact, there's two more. The one that I finished a few weeks ago is Shelter Free, which
right.
Have you lot played the Shelter games?
Only the
I
first
think I played
one.
a bit of one.
Okay, but you know,
Probably on two.
but for the folks who don't know, Shelter, the first game, it was quite unique at the time. You're basically playing as a mother badger caring for a young, and for some reason they had to go. One day they just decided to up and leave their den, and they decided to go clear across this forest. I don't know why. I can't remember. Maybe there was a fire. Maybe that was why. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. When did that game come out? Was it 2013?
I was going to say,
14?
must be 7 odd years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So back then there wasn't much like it.
2013.
Yeah. Jeez. 8 years ago. But yeah, this is the third game in the series. I think they did an offshoot one called Pause or something like that. I think I've played all of them. But Shelter Free, I think it's my least favourite.
Okay.
Which is a shame, because after the first Shelter, I think that one hit more because it's there was nothing else like that at the time. It was quite unique, and it was there's only so many Bambi stories you can tell, really, in that kind of format. But this one, it's about an elephant herd, and you'd think with elephants being very emotional creatures that it would evoke some, it'd evoke something. It'd have a good story. It'd have, this is the game out of all of them that should have probably made me cry. But it's it just didn't hit that mark, because I think that's mainly because of the gameplay getting in the way of it. In terms of, you obviously have these baby elephants at the start, and your herd. You're basically there's a matriarch there, but she's very old, so you're the new matriarch, playing as the new matriarch, and you're having to, lead your herd across the Serengeti or whatever. And I played it twice because it's very short. It's only about 45 minutes.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And it seems like no matter what you do, your little calves just get snatched by tigers and crocodiles no matter what you do. It seems like it's on rails almost to a point. where you can't control that. And I think, I don't know if that's true, but it felt like I had no agency, and therefore the story was dictated to me, which might have been the case in like Shelter 1. I can't remember, it's been so long ago. I think Shelter 2 you had more autonomy and you could keep your cubs alive for the whole journey, but
Shelter
this one
2,
it seems like the swipes no matter what you do.
Foxes, you were like a cat, like a lynx or something like that,
Yeah.
weren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so just because I was like, the first time, I mean, it's very abstract and what you're doing, and they don't really give you like much information, like that you don't have like you know, a whole tutorial. It's like, here you go. And so at first I was like, okay, I got to keep these elephants fed, and just getting down the mechanics, even though there are very few of them, it's like, okay, these elephants are gonna, this is what this meter means, these elephants are gonna starve to death if I don't knock down a tree and give them apples or something. And the first time round I was like, okay, maybe I just didn't get everything. Let me play it again. And this time it was like, no matter what I did, like my cubs still got swiped at, you know, the same time.
Oh, not even like different moments?
Well, there's different paths you can go down. Like there's always two branches where you can go at different sections of the story. It's like, okay, do you want to cross the desert or do you want to go via the lake full of crocodiles? So I tried to pick different ones at each time, but I still did sometimes try and go on the same path just to see, and they still got obliterated. It's just like, yeah, there's blood in the water now. Yeah, so it didn't give me that emotional connection that I thought I had. As I say, the story is very abstract. Not going to spoil the ending, but it's just, it didn't hit home like the first game did, and B, how I thought it would, given that it's elephants, and elephants are just, I mean, everyone's watched Dumbo, just sad. Or if anyone watching David Attenborough program, sad, man.
Yeah,
those elephants cry.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think
underwhelming, but
do you think part of it is just that like 2013 was a long time ago and they just haven't evolved the game?
That's precisely what I think it is. It's
more of the same doesn't work.
It seemed like, well, there's a point. It's like, how far can you take this when it's something like that and has the emotional impact of the first one, and it is unique back then, but you do two more of them, it is diminishing returns. But they have another game which looks, I think they call it like a mini MMO RPG, which I believe, like, I mean, I don't want to make any assumptions, but I believe like most of their focus will probably be on that game, because it seems like their first game that could be, like, in terms of scope and eyes on it, like pretty big. Might and delights the developer, and yeah, check out, I think it's called Book of Travels.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it looks,
they call it a TMORPG.
Right, okay. But yeah, the art style in that looks fantastic, and the art style in all the Shelter games are great. They look like patchwork quilts in motion.
Yeah, so they do. It's kind of got that really nice like storybook look to it. Absolutely. It feels like, and that's I think what I got from that first kind of from the first game, that it felt like a story kind of being told, and you were participating in that. And I can kind of see where maybe then there's that linear element to it, that you are kind of, yes, you are participating in this story, but this is the story and this is what you're kind of being told. The second one gave you a little bit more agency, and then that's been taken away in the third. It kind of seems like a backward step.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just me playing awfully twice, but it just felt like it was a bit more linear, even though they do have those branching paths. It just, I don't know. yeah, it's, as I say, a bit underwhelming, but I'm looking forward to Book of Travels. Like, what will that game be?
So I just did a quick search, and TMORPG stands for Tiny
Tiny, yeah.
Multiplayer Online RPG, because each server will have a limited number of people on it, such that you can actually curate interactions with the
Yeah, it
same
looks
people.
really cool.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so long as
I
enough
just wanna-
uptake happens and people don't like, because imagine being on a server that then, like the 4 people you got matched up with, or 15 people, or whatever the number is, they were like, yeah, I seen what this is, and then bounce, and you're just like,
To be honest,
no.
that would be my perfect ideal. It's like just me in that one, and just discovering the world if I can play on my own.
You kind of want it to be something like Journey, where people can kind of dip in and out. And yes, you're limited in the amount of people that you're interacting with. It might only be sort of a pool of 15 or 20 people, but they can drop in and out, and you can play it kind of solo and discover people on the way and that sort of thing. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether this is, especially with the RPG acronym on the end as well, that this isn't a 60-hour experience that can just go horribly awry, or not even a 60-hour experience, a 700-hour experience, you know, with all of the end game content and constant continual updates and things that you need to keep those people in. It'd be very interesting to see how that all shakes out.
I'm really looking. Even if I don't play, I'm just looking forward to seeing what that team does with that game, because it just seems fascinating. But I just want to like be a messenger in it or something, just walk around the town. It's so pretty.
Yeah, just be the postman.
Yeah, that's all I want. It's like, here you go. I deliver like the letter to the other people who are about to go on a raid, and I just it's like, have fun, just go deliver another letter.
A raid is just a caravan to a new town, though. And you just settle there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to something kind of like Journey as well, where it's like not, no violence, but still somehow some other way of keeping you wanting to go to this persistent online world. Because we don't have enough of those, right?
I mean, yeah.
That's why this seems so unique. So I hope they can do like what they did with the first shelter and just come out with something that's so unique, unlike and knock it out of the park the first time. So yeah, we'll see. Last game, was it the last game? Well, another game I wanted to talk about was Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
Oh yes, that's like the best name for anything.
Yeah, no game can beat this one. It must be good just based on how good the name is.
And it is good. And it's short, which I like. It's basically it's very much in the vein of like a Zelda game, traditional Zelda. So it's got that kind of like slightly askew, tilted, top-down perspective to it.
Like 16-bit RPG, sort of 8-bit RPG.
Yeah, this isn't pixel art though, is it? I literally just played it like.
I just meant the perspective. I think it's just a unique lo-fi art style.
It's very colourful. It's colourful in its art style and its language and tone. You are playing as Turnip Boy, and you commit tax evasion, which I can't hate. Why not? Basically, the very start of the game is Mayor Onion. He's like, I've evicted you out of your house, which was just a greenhouse, because you've committed tax evasion. And it's very much a Zelda, I guess it's a riff, I guess it's an homage to like Zelda, where, I mean, one of the first things you go and do is like you get a sword, and it's like, it's dangerous to go alone or whatever.
Right.
But it's very funny in those. It's sort of like Minute in that sense, where it's like playing on that genre. This is very much more traditional, like you're going around solving puzzles in dungeons and hacking and slashing, but it's basically paying homage to games like that, old adventure games like that. It tells, it's got funny jokes about the video games and video game culture and industry, and just about capitalism as well. It's like it's one of those where it's like, okay, we're gonna lay on the anti-capitalist jokes a lot, but they're all funny and they all hit.
Excellent.
I really just want to tell you guys like the story why this is a capitalist world full of.
Is it like integral to the plot?
You find it out at the end, and it's just like, do you want to know? Should we like tell our listeners to jump ahead a minute or something?
Ooh, yeah, go on.
So
Go on.
Splash spoiler alert. Jump ahead 2 minutes.
I'll go like this, and you can listen again if you're watching the video.
And if not, you can just hear it.
Yes. But basically, humans were alive in this world. They basically, because of capitalism, set off a nuke. And then this is basically a post-apocalyptic world where onions and turnip people inhabit the place. And
the rise of the root vegetable.
Which vegetable do you root for?
Oh God. And Mayor Onion, he's found like basically Turnip Boy is like in a lineage of like mafioso, and
you just have to pause. Turnip Boy is such a lovely turn of phrase. Every time you say it, part of me just wants to giggle out loud, and I've acknowledged that because then maybe I won't accidentally giggle throughout the rest of your explanation.
That's fine.
Sorry, so mafioso lineage.
Yeah, and Mayor Onion basically turned his back on like the mafia, and he wants to adopt human cultures. So he just made up this. He adopted, capitalist society and just made taxes. He was like, let me. You know how he's uncovering artifacts from a forgotten world, and he's like, let me adopt this part of human society, which is the most effed up part of it, and let me just run this capitalist regime in this vegetable town, and that's why rent is so high in Turnip World, and yeah, he sought to ape. He did not learn from our mistakes, basically.
No.
Yeah,
So
but
It's got a bit of an Animal Farm like riff.
Yes. It just made me laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only about 2 hours long, as I said, about 2.5 hours long. It doesn't wear out its welcome, which is good, because it is just like a
Grouping of
traditional
jokes.
indie plus that, but it's traditional indie game that's like you're in dungeons. Every like set little part of this small little town you go into, you do a dungeon. So it's like dungeon in a dungeon. Go to a graveyard, or you go to this abandoned farmhouse, and puzzles are like very light, very simple. It's very easy. Like a very small portion of the game is actually like hacking and slashing. There's a boss at the end of each dungeon, but I died once maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, little puzzles. Like you can roll bombs. You can like move. It's basically your soccer bomb puzzles, like just moving, blocks out of the way. And there's a little portal puzzle where it's like, oh, I can place a portal here and it'll teleport me to over there and stuff like that. It's very simple, but it's just really enjoyable. I played it in 2 settings and enjoyed every minute of it. So
Nice.
yeah, it's just really colourful, really funny. One of the good things is that as soon as Turnip Boy, you can find different pieces of I don't know, books and papers and stuff like that, and just little collectibles throughout the world, and just fleshing out this
Very silly place.
awful, this this very silly but very awful place built on a capitalist regime, and each time he gets one, he just tears it in half.
Oh, that's really good.
It's just like, and that's it. Yeah, it's really good, really well put together, very charming. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So
Nice. Good.
that's Turnip Boy going to tax evasion.
What did you play it on?
PC. I think it's on Switch, which would be a perfect place for it, really. We say that about every Switch game, but it truly would be. Turnip boy.
I mean, from almost every conversation we have, the Switch is the perfect place to play
Yeah.
Most games.
everything.
Outriders.
I mean, docked with a control
With a
pad.
Pro controller, but then that's just a console game. But also, no, it's better played with a mouse and keyboard, as I discovered.
Yeah. That was developed by Snoozy Kazoo, and
Good name.
yeah.
Somehow, I'm not surprised at that name.
Yeah. It's very good. Check it out.
Amazing. Nice.
Oh. Shall I talk about one last game very quickly?
Oh, go on.
Because I'm sure nobody wants to hear about a game that came out in 1997 of all times.
I mean, now I do. What happened in 97? 97 was the year I started driving.
No. Oh, you can drive earlier in Canada.
Well, not anymore, but you used to be able to get your learner's permit at 14.
Okay, that makes sense, because I was 7.
Low-key dig. Cool.
I was 7 and playing.
What did I do? What did I do that was notable at 13?
Also low-key dig somehow.
No,
I mean, also younger.
No, not
also
at all.
younger.
Not at all. Like, it's not that much younger, but I think
I'm
over
teasing.
here,
Back.
like at that age, you know, you're 13. What did you do? I probably smoked. That's about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was a good boy.
School or something like
Yeah,
that. Maybe GCSE or something.
I
I don't know.
ran someone over yet because I could drive at a ridiculously young age or something like that. But
Yeah,
Anyway,
you,
so you
turned
Lucy,
eight.
age 7.
Yeah. I was probably playing the Neverhood at the time, which is another niche point-and-click adventure game. But this is a point-and-click adventure game called Voodoo Kid, which is, despite the voodoo, is not culturally insensitive, even in
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of the weird. It's just it references voodoo and it has some things about voodoo, but as I say, not culturally insensitive
Nice.
like most games from the 90s.
yes, yeah.
Especially when voodoo comes along.
Yeah. It's really short. It took me like an hour and a half, and most of that time was waiting for the animations to play. So it was that age of CD-ROM games where it's like, okay, we're gonna do these, animations and really bad computer-generated graphics and stuff. That's gonna take precedent over like actual puzzles.
We can make things move, so we will make everything move.
Yes, absolutely. It is one of those games. But yeah, it what I will say, I didn't have to look at a walkthrough, which is incredible for a game from 1997, a point-and-click adventure game. But yeah, really short. It's definitely like aimed at kids. The kids who played it are probably like grown-ass adults now. But it released on GOG, released on Steam. I just went on GOG and was like, I've never heard of this game before, and I had a good time with it. And people were like, "Oh, you brought this back from my childhood." Very few people, I will say, but people. It's just good to see games be brought back.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I've always been a fan of GOG and what CD Projekt does, is because before it were cool, they were basically just a home for these old games that didn't really have current publication or whatever. It's like, oh, we figured out, like, they're one of the main reasons why DOSBox became a thing in the commercial sphere, is because they were the first ones to sell a bunch of games that ran with DOSBox, which was open source and still is open source. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But yeah, and so like, I'm not surprised that this really obscure point-and-click CD-ROM adventure game you found on GOG.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like it runs better than Cyberpunk 2077 too.
Well, it worked.
Cyberpunk 1997.
So yeah, it does. yeah, it's just great to see like games like that. Like I had never heard of this, but I'm glad it just feels very comforting to go back and play games that clearly aged a lot. This one not so much because puzzles were doable and it wasn't culturally insensitive. So most of that age was the graphics. So yeah,
You can do it.
yeah, absolutely. It just takes you back though. That even
Mm.
those graphics, so without them, like, wouldn't be the same. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, even though it was
Nice.
very short.
Excellent.
But that's Voodoo Kid. So for the two people out there who played Voodoo Kid in 1997, they're like, just saying, when are they gonna bring Voodoo Kid?
That's it. We've absolutely we have now hit our complete niche. There's someone at home drinking their homebrew, thinking, "Fucking Voodoo Kid, mate. That's the game I played in 1997."
Yeah.
I definitely never seen this game before.
No, I hadn't. And when I got the press release, I was like, "What is this? I want to know." So yeah, thanks to the. I think the developer is Infogrames. I don't know if they.
Oh, I mean that's the OG point and click adventure studio.
Yeah.
Although on Steam they have Voodoo King,
3 games.
Kid, Starshot Space Circus Fever, and International Tennis Open, which I'm not going to click on because in my head this is also a point and click adventure game of the International Tennis Open, which I don't know what that is, but sure.
I'd play it.
Yeah.
I'd play that over a tennis game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bring back more old obscure PC games, please.
I mean, just sit on GOG forever, couldn't you?
Yeah, because you'll make about 5 people very happy. Whether you turn a profit or not. Yeah. That's second.
Holy crap!
They spend thousands pulling these games back and updating them to be able to run on current hardware and stuff, and then 5 people leave them some 5-star reviews. Like, it's worth it.
Yeah,
absolutely worth it.
Yeah, because I was reading about the Blade Runner remake that they're doing, and just what an absolute ball ache that is.
Yeah, because they lost the original source code, so they've had to rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah, and that is a game with so many different permeations. Different stuff can, there's different outcomes, different dialogues. There's different people can be what are they called? What the robot
replicants?
People? Yes, replicants. Yeah.
Are you a replicant or a replicant?
Who knows? In that game,
that's a paraphrase of the very terrible line spoken by Johnny Depp in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, to I believe who was it? It was either Antonio Banderas or Machete.
Yes.
And he goes, "Are you a Mexican or a Mexicant?" And it's like, this movie is too it was released in the 2000s. You shouldn't. This feels weird. And
but Once Upon a Time in Mexico is absolutely a relic of that era. But it's very fun. That's a very fun.
Movie. I haven't watched in a long time. Is that's the sequel to Desperado?
Yes.
Which is the sequel to El Mariachi, which was Rodriguez's first film that he filmed for a magical $10,000. If you haven't seen El Mariachi, you should watch it. It's amazing what Rodriguez can pull off with basically duct tape, one camera, and a lot of gumption.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they recast Antonio Banderas as the character for Desperados because he wasn't in El Mariachi, someone else. Low budget sort of film, and then they go, "Here's more money." You go, "Oh, cool, we'll get someone else in." Wow.
But also, great Steve Buscemi role in Desperado as the weird sidekick narrator boy.
And then
anyway, I'm now tangenting on a tangent. I think
I was gonna, and then what's his name?
Johnny?
No. What's the Mexican actor who kills Steve Buscemi? Who throws all the knives in Desperado? Who's then Machete?
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo. Yes.
Yeah.
That must be his first major film as well.
Yeah, he was definitely in a bunch of smaller roles. There's a good story. He was on a podcast. I can't remember the episode or the show, so I won't bother. But talking about how he was an ex-con who was hired to a film and then just was treated well and tried to be a decent guy, so just kept getting put onto sets and getting progressively bigger and bigger roles until but he's also this tall, apparently.
Oh, really?
He's a short man. He is a short man.
Well, I expect him to be like this tall.
Yeah.
Coming off the top of the camera, like.
Yeah, it's a Tom Cruise effect. Anyway,
nice.
So that was Voodoo Kid.
Yes. That's all the games.
Perfect. Should we open some more beers?
Yeah, sure.
We'll open beers in Lucy's case. Aadil, what are you going to drink?
I have an Imperial Stout.
Oh. How strange, following on from the last beer.
Well, I don't think it's easy to follow up an Imperial Stout with anything but an Imperial Stout, to be fair. This one's from Left-Handed Giant. It's When the Moon Collapses. It's a Stroopwafel Imperial Stout. So the reason why I originally paired these two was because they're Imperial Stouts with the connection to the Dutch/Amsterdam. While the Dutch one refers to something Italian, the UK one refers to something Dutch. But then I was like, do I need two Imperial Stouts? Maybe I'll swap them. And then I didn't swap them. So this is a 10.5% Stroopwafel Imperial Stout. It has honeycomb, brown sugar, caramel coffee, cinnamon, and Tanzanian vanilla.
Ooh, okay.
And it is a healthy... Oh, here's the 10. You know... Classic Left-Handed Giant sort of graphic design. It is a healthy 10.5%.
Nice.
So I'm going to crack this and hopefully pour it a little better.
Which was the same... The last one was 10.5?
It was 9.
It was 9. Oh, the Empress Tonkoko was 10.5. That's There we go. There was a 10.5 somewhere.
It was 10.6, but...
Whatever.
Oh.
Sorry.
Nailed me. Absolutely.
I could have let it go,
but
I couldn't.
Lucy, is your beer warmed up a little bit? Oh, you have cracked it. Nice.
Perfect temperature now.
Good. We'll roll around then. Let us know how that is in a moment. I'm going to drink a beer from Newtown Park and Left-Handed Giant. It's called Level Up. It's a double IPA at 8%. Brewed by Newtown Park, who are in Left-Handed Giant's old brewing space. But this says Level Up double IPA, a big hitting dipper with masses of tropical fruit, pina colada, cotton candy, green melon, and mango, perfectly balanced by a resinous back note and a hint of pepper from the laurel. Brewed in collaboration with our buddies at Left-Handed Giant. After buying their old kit, it seemed only fitting that our first dipper should be brewed with them. It's got Mosaic, Eldorado, and Laurel in. It only then tells me the allergens, which are barley, wheat, and oats. Doesn't give me any more info than that. But it's in a lovely little can. It was very eye-catching when I went in the bottle shop, or the newsagents where I picked it up from. So I shall open this, and Aadil will. Well, Aadil, you're have a moment. Lucy, we'll roll around to you for the small Tonkoko.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just distracted because Sega will launch its first NFTs in summer 2021.
I did read that headline. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had I hate the world stuck in my throat.
Yeah, so after reading that, this is a perfect beer to drink because it's a nice one to just sip on.
Yeah.
Just trying to get the world. It's been, yeah. It is a perfect chose it because I wasn't going to drink this evening, but this is like the perfect one where it's just like I don't want anything too heavy, but you want something like maybe a bit deeper, a bit more rich for the evening, and it's just perfect. Yeah, it's got a nice chocolatey maltiness to it. You can smell the sugar off it. It's got a nice, it's like freshly baked kind of like sweetness out of the oven kind of smell.
Nice.
Yeah, a bit of cinnamon. Getting a bit of that vanilla, but it's not too sweet with all the things that were in it. Let me just remind myself. Marshmallow, coconut, cacao, tonka, and vanilla. But even with all that, it's still... I wouldn't say subtle, but it's still reserved enough where it's not too sweet and in your face. Oh, it just smells delightful. But yeah, it's one of those where it's like the body. It's not got a heavy body. It's not very, viscous, but it still brings in all those flavors, and that's what I love about Brew York. That they can just, no matter what the percentage, their stouts still give you that like very comforting, homey feeling. Very, very. Yeah, it's just good. Yeah, like malty, biscuity, very rustic. But yeah, it's just good. I love their stouts.
Good. Amazing.
Yeah,
Nice.
Smart. It's also got a bit of that roasty taste as well. So I'm just gonna.
I don't know.
For the rest of the night,
just from memory, I don't know whether they have had the s'more Tonkoko.
I haven't had the s'more.
Yeah, I've had a few different ones, but I don't think I've had that. Is it a new? Yeah. Is it a new bit? Is there anywhere on there that says it was brewed on or canned on or anything like that? Is it?
It's been around for a while because this isn't the first one that I've had. Let me pull the rest of it for a little
even though it says it might say brewed on, that is only this then batch of that. Rarely do we get kind of like batch numbers and things like that on cans or brew numbers and things of various.
Second of February it was canned.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's been around for a spell.
Yeah.
I think it's like a brand new thing.
I did see in the bottle shop where I went to grab a few beers the other day, they had that Polly's Spectrum set of beers, which is an IPA, a double IPA, a triple IPA, and a quadruple IPA. And I was very, very tempted to pick it up, thinking, is this kind of, are they trying to fill that space? Is this the new kind of like Cannonball Run? Is it going to be this nice event sort of beer coming on? But there must be a Tonkoko run at some, and then there was those Three Hills beers. They did all of these different adjunct sort of stouts as well. So then whether they all stack up in kind of ABV rather than just the difference in in a little bit of the flavour sort of thing.
There is a whole range of them, but yeah, I mean, if I could just like buy like a pack of them where it's like all the different strengths, I'd be. I am 18 or over.
Just a 12-pack with two of each different Tonkoko style beer in it from Brew York. That'd be good. We'd do that.
Oh, and there's a Tonkoko. Ooh.
I mean, Brew York.
Whole pack.
Brew York must love their video games because there's been lots of video game based beer names and labels and stuff. We'll get them on. Fuck it. Let's email them. Let's have a look.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
But this £60 one. Oh wow! Is the? Oh my god! I might have to buy this. This Tonkoko rum. 40%, 42% rum.
Oh.
Forget the Tonkoko run. You can just have the Tonkoko rum.
From Brew York.
Yeah, Tonka and
They've
coconut
started
rum.
distilling rum as well, have they?
But yeah, it comes with the milk stout and comes with a nice poster.
Okay. Posters always good. Yeah.
Yep. Don't know what I'd do with it.
Drink the rum, look at it, put it away somewhere.
Yeah. To be honest.
Nice. Aadil, we'll come back to you for what were you having? Left-handed giant.
Yeah, when the moon collapses, the Stroopwafel Imperial Stout. Head is completely the opposite of the Dulce de Leche one. Basically looks like just almost a cola, except that there's a bit of clinginess on the head, but there's almost none. It almost looks like a flat cola. Oh wow! So that nose is very light. You're getting a little bit of that coffee, toffee, but mostly it's that Tanzanian. I think Tanzanian vanilla. You're getting this nice light, non-artificial vanilla smell, and with a slight sort of malty undertone. So it makes, which just makes the nose much fuller. This is a very, very luscious smelling beer, despite luscious being the wrong term for like a more stouty thing. But I just mean it's very, very enjoyable. It's much more beery than the sours we had last week, but it still reminds me of just this like really solid, non-standard beery nose. It's very, very pleasant. So that sweetness right at the end gives away that it's 10%
Yeah.
But other than that, this is it's thin. It's not viscous at all, which I was surprised at by. Maybe that's why it like has almost no lacing as well. Not viscous at all might be pushing it, but it's a lot thinner than expected. It swishes around the mouth and just sort of slides away. It's very easy to drink. It's so it has this caramel, a little bit of coffee. This vanilla basically is at the same level as the nose all the way through. So you can kind of miss it in the taste, except it's sort of always there. It finishes with this sweetness at the back of my throat and the tip of my tongue. And over top, you've got this lightly burnt sugar. Like if you started making a creme brulee and just said, fuck it, and then took a bite. So like part of it is burnt, but most of it's not. Which is very interesting. Again, it helps bring out that light, airy sweetness with the vanilla. This is dangerously easy to drink, though. Yeah, there's something else there. I can't quite place. Something deeper on the undertones. So, like the last one I said had almost like you could tell that there were like hops in it. This one has none of that. This is very much like a sweet milk stout or a sweet stout, but it's not a milk stout, which I like because the sweetness is coming from the alcohol only and being supported by the vanilla, but it's still got enough sort of stouty beefiness is the wrong term.
Heft.
Like it's more barrel chested. That's sort of the beefiness I was thinking.
Yeah.
Of, right. So it's but again, it's not like it's like the barrel chested sidekick in the show where you've got a lippy protagonist, and then as soon as people say want to fight, the sidekick sort of stands up and shows that they're big, because it's not imposing and in your face.
Just
it's
stomps into the scene, pushes them out with their nose type thing.
Yeah, but also they won't do anything unless a fight happens. So they're basically always kind of in the background, being barrel chested, but not being antagonizing. That's a metaphor.
Well, it's Bluto from Popeye. All chest, no nothing.
Yeah, except Bluto's not non-antagonizing.
No,
he's
that's literally not true. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking. Yeah. So to me, the honeycomb and caramel are kind of doing the same thing. I was just curious if I could taste the bits now that I've had a taste. But there is something, and I think it might just be that the malts are coming through that aren't coffee or burnt toffee or anything, and that's what's giving it a little more depth, is the fact that the malts aren't doing that. It's the actual additives of the caramel and the coffee. Yeah, so they've added caramel and coffee, and I actually don't think the malts are... I think they've picked malts that aren't doing the same thing, and so it's giving it much more breadth, and I think that's where the barrel chested, it's just got a broader taste. So I can taste all those notes that they've mentioned on the tin, but also there's still other stouty notes, rather than... These are also... The majority of them are possible notes on a stout, if that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, it's very good, very easy to drink, probably dangerously so. 10.5%. You can tell if you've had enough imperial stouts, I guess. So it's not boozy, right? But it's got that telltale... Oh, I'm pretty sure most of the sweetness isn't from the brown sugar on the tin. It's from the fact that this is 10%. But if you sort of haven't done enough rounds with imperial stouts to trick you, you would just be like, this is great. It's kind of light. It's sort of got the sweetness. It's not thickly sweet. It's not a milk stout, which has sort of more of a full body in the sweetness. It's just like, oh yeah, I could slug this back. Maybe I'll have a second one. And you're like, oh, that's like I've had 4 recession ales. Oops. 8 after 2, right?
Now I'm waking up with a headache.
Doesn't happen. It's a myth.
Only for mutants.
Yeah, it's very much true in my world.
Right, so this Newtown Park Brewing Company and Left Handed Giant collaboration, it's not what I expected when I poured it from a double IPA. It's see-through. It's really clear. Nice.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell from the camera, but when you rotate it, I can see your thumb.
Yes.
Just enough.
Yeah.
You're a little pixelated on my end.
There it is. My big old thumb through the glass.
It's like a cloudy lager almost.
It is absolutely, and in colour it looks like that as well. Big piney nose, lots of mango on there as well, and that comes through in the flavour. Loads of ripe mango, loads of pine on the finish as well. Very, very easy though. This is kind of my weak spot. And this is it's kind of, it hits me in that way. I'm like, yep, I will drink all of this in 3 sips. Done. It gives a lot. There's a little bit of a softer stone fruit in there. It's not just that tropical kind of mango. There's something else. Maybe there's sort of like a little peachy note, but I don't know whether that's the mango subsiding slightly and the pine kind of coming in, whether it's a little bit of weaker mango and something else filling that gap with this sort of this kind of piney note. But what were the hops? Mosaic, Eldorado, and Laurel.
What are the notes on a Laurel? Do you guys remember?
I missed that. Sorry. Was it?
What are the notes on a Laurel hop?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. It does say on here, balanced by a resinous back note and a hint of pepper from the Laurel. So the Laurel is giving it that kind of piney, resinous finish. A little bit of pepper. Yeah, I can get that now. I've said it. Absolutely, I can see that. And there's a little bit of heat going along with that. And that you get from black pepper, enough black pepper if you put it on, just that little sort of lift in heat as well. But it says masses of tropical fruit, pina colada, cotton candy, melon and mango. So it is exactly what it says on the tin. When I'm saying that kind of that drop in that kind of mango flavour and something a little bit more softer in there, it is that kind of cotton candy flavour, definitely that sort of little bit of sweetness that you get from sort of an overripe kind of melon and a mango sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely, this fits really well with what they've suggested.
Quick Google said floral and herbal notes from the Laurel. I just remembered. I think mostly Cloudwater they've had like Laurel hops.
Yes, yeah. I remember Cloudwater putting in Laurel in a couple of their beers last year, maybe.
A couple of years ago, I'm thinking.
Who knows these days?
Only because last year I didn't go to a bottle shop, and it's like I remember seeing them on the shelves. Laurel, Cloudwater. So
nice.
Oh God, I want to go to a bottle shop.
It's been time, Lucy. You got to take the plunge. Rates are right down at the moment. Rates are really down. So
yeah, but imagine if I caught COVID going to a bottle shop.
Also, like the rates are down, but you can also still order from most of them.
But it's the visceral feel of it, man.
It's fine. Don't pressure people to come out of lockdown faster than they
absolutely.
want.
Absolutely.
No, I know he's not. Because I just put in an order with like left field beer anyway. So it's just like no need for a while.
Perfect. That's good. That's good. Okay, we will enjoy these beers. I'm just going to jump in. I've got one game. Well, I haven't got one game. I've got a couple of games to talk about. But one game I have to talk about, which is a game called Buildings Have Feelings Too. We were provided a code. We provided a code through Evolve from the publisher, and it builds itself on being this kind of city builder game, but it's not a city builder. It's not a city builder in the sense that you would think of a city builder. You basically control a building, and you run along a 2D plane, and it's like a puzzle game. So you have various objectives when you get into an area, and the objectives might be make a 2-star bakery, or make a 2-star lawyer offices, and stuff like this. And each of these buildings kind of has its own personality, and you can put various different uses within these different buildings, right? And the idea is that you have to hit these objectives, and a lot of that comes down to the placement of these buildings and their uses. So, in the first area, it's saying have some people, and you might put in some rented accommodation next to some rented accommodation, and they then link up with each other and go, hey, this was the thing, this is the thing that we wanted, to then make us a 2-star rented accommodation. To make us a 3-star rented accommodation, put a pub next to us. So you then build a new building and you put a pub next to them. And building, it's not like a city builder again. Time doesn't pass. You basically say, please place a building here on this run of buildings, or on this run of space, and a building will appear, and you can put a use into it. It's very swift. It's very fast in that sort of sense. But it is a puzzle game. Absolutely. And a lot of the time I'm finding with this that to meet the objective, I've gone, right, so I need, let's say, a pub. I need a whiskey distillery so I can then level up the pub. I need like accommodation for people because they then level up. I need then this next to the whiskey distillery also wants something that is industry next to it, but the accommodation doesn't want industry because that then takes down the rating of them. So you have to kind of shuffle and shift where these different things are to come up with that perfect combination of buildings to kind of maximize all of their ratings to then give you the amount of hearts you need to move on to, say, the next area sort of thing. And it absolutely is a puzzle game, and I like that about it. I like that it is not kind of, a classic sort of city builder in that kind of way. It feels a little bit different. They're trying something else. But don't go into this game thinking it's a city builder. And it's tagged as a city builder as well, but it is not. It's not like City Skylines. It's not like SimCity. It isn't that at all. It's very, very different to that. And that is not a bad thing. It just isn't that expectation that you should have going into this game. Yeah. Absolutely.
It looks like it was a very hard game to describe in like a Steam,
very much. Yeah.
Because I've seen this game, like I saw it when it was like announced, and I was just like, that is a really cool art style. Like that was what drew me in, but until you've explained it now, I still had no idea what the actual gameplay was. So, that's it. It kind of, I had to remember the name of the game. Rip Them Off, that we all played.
Yeah,
it sort of has that kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't say gameplay loop, but that kind of end goal where it's like, okay, having to, grow this city, and this obviously has a less cynical take on it.
Yes, you absolutely, you feel like you do feel like you have to optimize all the time, and it doesn't penalize you for certain things. So I can have a setup of buildings, and then have, say, like a lawyer's office, and know that the lawyer's office wants to be next to similarly leveled other office-based things, but it also wants a cafe the cafe's over here, and I can move my lawyer's office over here and bang it up to 2 stars. I'd be like, perfect, okay. And then the other lawyer's office I've got over here, I can just swap it in with that one, move that lawyer's office over there, and that one then becomes 2 stars. This one doesn't then lose its 2 stars because it's moved out of that position. And if the objective is to have 2 2-star lawyer offices, I've done that. So it has that element of you being able to kind of game the puzzle a little bit and move these sorts of parts about. And that, you know, that is part of the ongoing puzzle, I suppose. This kind of idea that there isn't like one solution. It is a constant shift and rearrangement of these sorts of things to bring them all up. And there will be sort of, you know, an optimized way to do this, at least from kind of how I feel these things could stack up. There is kind of that solution that will do everything, but it allows you that little bit extra to kind of shift things in and out and change things as you want. And as I say, you're this like little building going around talking to other buildings, just running back and forward on this 2D sort of street, moving buildings about, telling them where to go and building new buildings and things. And it has this lovely kind of charm to it, and just that little bit of humour, a little bit of self-deprecation in terms of the, you know, the humour that you get from the buildings, and some of them are like, hey, I'm this big building and I should be this, and why are you changing what I'm doing and all this. And then other ones which are like, oh hey, yeah, just, you know, just leave me alone, I'm just a rubbish building kind of thing, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, I should just probably be demolished. Oh, and it absolutely gives these buildings their own persona and these sorts of things. So and it's fun, and I find myself going, okay, I'll jump back in for 10 minutes, I'll have a look, and I'll try and work out what is going on and see if I can meet this sort of next objective. And some of them have been really hard. So I'm like, oh shit, how do I get this building to be a 2-star building? Because I need that to be 2-star to then make this building over here 3-star, which is the objective that I've currently got. There's a lot of kind of almost like troubleshooting going around, like being like, right, I'll move this here, that does that, I move this here, that does that, I move this here, that then does that, which allows me to then move that here, and now I've completed my objective. So it kind of pulls you in that way, and it's got this lovely charm to it, it's got this lovely aesthetic, but there's just something that it hasn't quite grabbed me yet. And I'm not feeling that compelled to go back to it and be like, right, I absolutely want to smash this area out and do everything that this area wants me to do. I'm kind of going into it in little sort of sessions. I say, you know, go in for 15 minutes, do a couple of things, come back out, maybe find an evening and go in for 15 minutes. If I have a free evening, I haven't been sat here thinking, right, I just got to blast through this game. Part of that has been because Lucy, after you very kindly sent me the Xbox control pad, I've actually been able to play Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and that's all I've wanted to play. After starting it, I'm like, this game is fucking fantastic, and this is all I want to do, and I want to absolutely hammer this. So everything else is kind of been at its detriment to Ori, but it's just not quite that element to grab me with Buildings Have Feelings too. It is fun.
Wait, don't tell them that. It turns out I hear that they have feelings.
Oh, he didn't like it. I mean, it really is, and it's a good puzzle game. It will really get you thinking about that order, about what you have to do, about these sorts of things. And I think part of maybe the reason it hasn't grabbed me is some of the, like, there's a lot of menus to go through in this. So you will walk up to a building, and you will click on the building, and it will tell you what it needs to level up. You then have to click another button to see maybe what things you can do for that. So you can click a different button to get a hint from the building. You have to press different buttons to press different buttons. Of course, you've got to press fucking different buttons. But it feels like you're going through lots of different menus to do quite simple things with it. So it feels a little bit convoluted in the way that its sort of systems want you to do stuff. And you can see that they have tried to optimize it in the best way. There's just a lot going on to try and optimize. And it's not that simple to run through.
Sim City management puzzle game where it has a lot of menus. That's that portion of the game. The menus.
Yes, that's why it's a city builder. menus everywhere.
Suboptimal.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, it feels like it's a bit too much. There's absolutely a simplified version of this somewhere.
Yeah.
That is
like they're trying to meld the two genres and haven't quite stuck the landing.
Yes.
Yeah. Question: how are you playing this? Are you playing it on controller or on mouse and keyboard? Because just looking at the reviews, I think that is what people are most disappointed about, the controls rather than the game itself.
Yeah, completely. I have played on both. I played on mouse and keyboard, and I played on control pad, and the game kind of lends itself a little bit more to mouse and keyboard because you can be a little bit more accurate with what you're looking to do. You know, as you have this street, you have dots along it, and different buildings take up a certain amount. You know, each dot is a space. So a residential building might take up 3 spaces. A warehouse building might take up 5 spaces. And when you're on a control pad, you can run up to a space and think that you've got it, but actually you've just clipped too far and you've clipped the next one. So then you've got to go onto the directional pad and move back one. Whereas if you're mouse and keyboard, you just fucking click it. So it's a little bit more solid playing on mouse and keyboard. It just feels a little bit better in those sorts of terms. But I've kind of persisted a little bit playing on. Sorry, it was the lovely music from the baby monitor that's just run out of battery. I've kind of persisted playing on gamepad because lots of other stuff does feel good. So rather than me clicking through menus and having different keys to be able to do that, it feels good to run through these menus on the control pad rather than doing them in a different way on the kind of the keyboard. So in one sense it's good for a control pad, but in the other it isn't. And there's that issue with the game as well, that the controls are kind of trying to cater to both sorts of things, but not quite hitting either of them not very well. It hits most things in both sort of senses. But there's just a little bit of issue with both elements of those controls as well. But yeah, it's fun. It just isn't compelling. And that's what I need right now. I need something compelling to take me away from the other games that are compelling, that want me to keep playing them, like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is just so fantastically made and optimized that I am gravitating much more towards that than I am from Buildings Have Feelings Too. And yeah, it's not to take away from Buildings Have Feelings Too, but there's just something for me just not grabbing me yet. I'm maybe halfway through. I'm on the 5th area of about 8 or 9. So yeah,
that happens. Like that.
Yeah,
Every game
all games can be
right.
for everyone over and above. It sounds like it's perfectly fine, just not quite what you want right now, and it might never be. That's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will be people out there who this will fit. This will absolutely suit. Every game will have an audience to cater to. Everyone, yeah. So
Voodoo Kid, people probably been asking GOG for years for Voodoo Kid. So.
Yeah.
All 6 of them, yes. Yeah. So that's.
I think that game got pretty decent reviews. I don't want to crap on
Just
it.
rag on Voodoo Kid all night. Like.
Really well-made games, though. Just being a bit tongue-in-cheek. So, but yeah, there's a game for everybody.
Absolutely. But yeah, as there is a beer for everybody, as we've talked about at length, there is absolutely a game for everybody. And yeah, Building Tough Feelings 2 might fit some people perfectly. They want that little bit of a mix between these kinds of games, and they will get that from this, and they will get that charm from it. They will get, it's a lovely aesthetic. The music's very nice and fits really well with what you're kind of trying to do. It's a really good package as well. How it's presented works very, very well. So it's something I will keep going to, just in very small kind of doses.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I should finish Rip Them Off. I had the same thing with you. It's like that game didn't hit on all cylinders, but I enjoyed it, even though the puzzles didn't seem like there was much leeway in the solutions. So it's like I enjoyed it. Decent art style.
That's actually what I've been thinking about with respect to the game I talked about a couple weeks ago. That was called. I want to say Alice, but it's not. It's crap. What was that?
Go back, shall we, in the little book of things.
What was it called? It was called Scarlet Hood in the Wicked Wood.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, again, it was interesting, and I played it for a couple of hours on stream and really liked it. And it has this limited time loop mechanic that I kind of got to the point in the game where I was solving puzzles and had done 2 loops, but really the 2 loops were the ones that were like, hey, loops happen. And it said you could get a maximum of 7, but I didn't. The story was interesting, the world was interesting, but I wasn't like, oh, as soon as that stream ended, it wasn't like, oh, I'll play this tonight. But I'm still intrigued by it, and I want to know, like I have a real terrible. I'm really bad about just. It comes from having low save space on various consoles and computers, and just each save just overwriting, and it's like, oh, if you have 7 loops, this is a game I might need to use multiple save slots for, and because of the mechanic, and that's interesting to me. And I just but it's again, I really liked the setting. I liked the modernization and the sort of remixing of different fairy tales and whatnot. I just wasn't grabbed by it.
Yes.
But I do want to take a look more, even just to learn more about the mechanics of the game and see a little bit more of the world. I don't know if I'll finish it. It kind of depends on how the next thing goes. But I don't want to lose track of it in the same way that sometimes I test a game and it's like, I did that thing.
Yeah. We're strange human beings. It's like Disc Room, which I was looking forward to for a long time, came out, I played a bit of it, and I literally only just completed it last night.
Yeah,
so I didn't play it for months, so it's just, we're bizarre humans.
Completely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was thinking earlier, I don't know what brought me to this thought, but there was this summer where, did I have Evelyn yet? I can't remember. Is it 2016? Who knows? But The Witcher 3 came out, right?
I mean, we could look that up.
And it was followed very, very quickly. And it came out in The Witcher 3 came out May, and I spent pretty much the whole summer playing it. And then Metal Gear Solid 5 came out.
Yeah,
and I moved straight onto that game. Brilliant, perfect. This is exactly what I want. I wanted that big, epic RPG. And then I wanted to then get into something which was equally as big, but offered me something slightly different. It's not necessarily an RPG. It's very much more kind of, Metal Gear Solid is a puzzle game. Working out where you kind of can go, have to go, what you're doing, and how you can kind of do it. In that very sense of, enemies have paths and all of those sorts of things. And that was perfect for me. That progression between those games. And I've had times where, after I played the most recent God of War, where I just sat and went, I don't want to play nothing else now. I don't know what to do with my kind of time.
Nothing else is as good.
Exactly. And then we sit here with all of these smaller experiences. And we're like, something doesn't quite grab me, or something doesn't quite pull me in. And other games, which are smaller, Aadil, you smashed out like before your eyes in like an entire sitting, just went through, and we were talking about kind of like how good the mechanic of kind of like blinking was, how good the story was to pull you through, and those sorts
one
of
my top games.
Yeah,
this year.
exactly. And sometimes things just fucking hit, don't they? Sometimes things just nail what they're trying to do, and they hit you at that right moment to pull you through. And other times, buildings have feelings too. May have been exactly what I was looking for a year ago. It is just at the moment. There's something else that I'm looking for. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like about these days, there's so many games that you can.
One might say too many.
I agree, but you can find exactly what you want when you're in the mood for it. So I've been on a point and click binge, and I'm playing Dark Side Detective 2 now.
Oh, nice, yeah,
that's good. So many games.
Perfect. Aadil, I feel like we haven't left you very much time to talk about what you'd like to discuss this week. You got 10 minutes roughly.
Yeah, so I think it's a game that you both watched me play last week. We didn't have a chance to talk about it. I really enjoyed it. It's also very simple. It's called Size Matters, and it's a first-person puzzle platformer where you're a scientist in the lab, and the premise is you done fucked up, and something's happened, and you are now shrinking at a slow pace in the environment, and you have to basically make the antidote, which is composed of 3 parts, and there'll be clipboards strewn about the lab which will say X plus Y makes Z, like these are compound names, or like put a compound into this magic machine and type a certain code, and they'll come out with this new compound. And so you sort of have 8 or 9 compounds that you have to hunt around the lab to find, and maybe 12 clipboards. I think that was like the normal hard version.
I think like easy was about 6 and 6.
Yeah. And easy was like, real easy. But basically, I played it on stream, and with Ben in the back seat, which really helped. To be honest, I think it would have been it's because we smashed through beginning, normal, hard, real easy. Quickly, minutes to spare, etc. And it was just a lot of fun. And like by the time we got to hard, one of the things I learned was like get all the clipboards and put them in one place in a row, and then as soon as you do, then figure out which, because some of the clipboards are red herrings, so you can't just like get a clipboard and if you know where the chemicals are, start the interaction, because some of them will make the wrong thing. So you have to just kind of use your deduction. So like if it's basically look for some of the clues are on like whiteboards on the wall, so you can't just rely on the clipboards. That was one of the things that harder difficulty put in. So you're basically like, how do I make keys 1, 2, and 3? Okay, key 3 needs this interaction. Let's say it's some compound and a number in that machine. Then you're like, how do I get that compound? You're like, oh, well, I found a clipboard that says it's made of these 2 things. How do I make those 2 things? Well, I only have one of those things. Oh, but that other thing is required, this other microwaving this other thing, then adding water to it, then putting that thing into a machine and typing in the code 1207 or something. So you just, like, the more clear-headed you are at the beginning, and also just the better it'll be by just, like, basically throwing away the clipboards that don't mean anything, but also ordering the clipboards that do. But obviously, as difficulty increases, you have less time to do that organizational stuff. And meanwhile, as time goes by, you're getting smaller, which means navigating the room becomes harder, and so you have to start jumping onto, like, stools, like rolly stools or boxes, and then you get too small for the rolly stool, so you need a box to get on the rolly stool. Then you need something, and then I realized that the cupboards that the it's like sort of the drawers at desks. You know, you have multiple drawers, and I realized, oh, you could treat them kind of like stairs. So you can open the bottom one and then use that to jump onto the stool to jump on the table to put the thing in, and did pretty well overall with that. Even with
well with that.
like
Was
on
that
hard, it was like I'm now small enough that I need to navigate the world with moving things around to get these last steps, because it's like, again, this like chain of figuring out what to do. I also realized halfway through that run I had started with putting everything on the desk, nice and neat, as one might. And then as I got rid of things, throwing it on the floor. But then I got small enough, seeing the desk was an issue. But now I couldn't just put the things on the desk on the floor because I've littered the floor with other things that don't matter, which was a really interesting learning point, which is thinking about the scale of things. And actually, it's like, lay out all the things on one piece of floor and then throw them somewhere else. Who cares else? But just like having a patch. Because you don't trip over clipboards, although they do have physics. And there was a handful of times where pulling them out of cupboard and having them like hitting something on the way out and then tumbling and landing upside down and then having to like flip them over, or having them on the top shelf of a top cupboard that you can't quite grab them out properly because they keep hitting the top of the cupboard and you're too small to like just reach it. So you have to jump and try and grab and pull, and then it gets caught on a thing and then you fall down. And then you waste like 35 seconds being this essentially foot-haul goblin trying to get a clipboard off the top shelf of a cupboard. And you're like, what am I doing? But also, this is so much fun. Like, it's even like, and the thing is, as soon as you notice you start to shrink, you're like, oh, the time. Oh, I don't. Ooh. And like, ask Ben. Even on the normal run, I was already very cognizant of time. Like it has enough size mattering. Even though we like finished with 5 minutes to spare, and it wasn't really difficult, it still gave the tension. Like it like doles out the shrinking in kind of bursts. I think is one of the reasons why it really helps, is because you're not just like slowly shrinking. It's like after a minute you're like, and then after another minute you're so you notice the shrink, which is still like over a few seconds, but it's like you've hit this moment and now you're shrinking. And I think that tricks your brain to be like, oh shit, this is the rate I'm shrinking, or at least I'm so preoccupied with the other things I can't pay attention to when was the last, like I can't do the mental math of I shrunk about this many units 30 seconds ago, and now I'm shrinking this many units. So actually, it'll be fine. Instead, you see, I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking again because I'm too busy trying to use my brain.
It's more those critical points where suddenly you shrink under 900 centimeters, 900 millimeters, and you've gone under the worktop height. And you're like, oh shit, that's a fucking issue.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Again, and that was the run I had where I had laid everything perfectly out, and then it was like having to hit jump to like see, and it's like, and again trying to like read the clipboard without having to climb on the desk, and then be like, oh, there's a code. I think it's 1207. Oh, is it? Yeah. And meanwhile, Ben's seeing it on stream, and his like, luckily, I think I would have done way worse if I didn't have a TV as my main monitor, because I could like look over and be like, yeah, it says 1270, and Ben's like, it says anything? Because like the difference between resolution and screen size was like, no, there's no way Ben could have played it at like via stream. Like if we played it on Parsec, he'd be like, nah, gotta run over there. And it's just loads of fun. My only complaint is when you go from hard to crazy, they introduced two things, which were beakers can spill. So if the beaker isn't held perfectly upright, so like you grab it from above and pull it, it's gonna like tip. Or
you stop dunking beakers is probably one of my favorite things I've seen.
And so it spills, and you're like, ah, fuck. And the other thing is, if you bash it into something too hard, it breaks. And like the only way to figure out how these things matter is just kind of to play it. But like there's a new machine, which is fix an ingredient. In the previous levels, it would be like you got one of those red herring clipboards and you need to like reverse a bad move. In these, it's like you broke a beaker. You go to the thing, you're like, I broke this beaker, and it just magically makes it, which kind of sucks because although it's like movie science in the idea that you just add a couple things and microwave it and something and add water and it'll just magically do a thing. It's just felt very concrete still. Like there was some logic to it, but then it's like I push a button and this machine runs for a minute and just creates a beaker out of thin air of the ingredient that I broke. And I kind of wish it wasn't so. Like gameplay wise, it's very good because you break a beaker, you break 3 beakers. First one you broke will get made minute. Second one minute. Third one minute. But also you can't pick. It's just a little jarring in the sense of everything felt very fluid, pun intended. And then this felt very not. But and then as we discovered, because I was like, oh, I'm looking at my one of my beakers and there's nothing in it. It says, I don't know, thoridium or whatever the thing, like, because they do have really great names and a lot of them sound similar, so you can't just be like, oh, the P one, like the A one and the T one make the P one, because there's like 2 very similar sounding P ones and 3 similar sounding T ones, so you're like constantly like, oh, I have to waste time to reread these clipboards because what if I got the wrong one? I can't waste the minute it takes to revert a mistake, which I really like. But again, it's just like I've got from the way I look at the speaker, it's empty. I try and put it in the fix machine. Fix machine does nothing, and it wastes like 2 minutes. And I don't know. It took me a while to even figure out how the fix machine worked because I was preemptively trying to fix non-broken things. Because it turns out the spilling is just a red herring mechanic, as far as I can tell. As long as there's some in it, you add it to the other thing, and it'll mix fine. Which I think is just a shame because there could be like maybe there's a crazy plus where like actually it's one part of this and one part of this, and so you spill this and you have to spill this to make it work.
Yeah, because the game had a lot of settings, which was nice. A lot of things you could toggle with, like the gravity was quite funny.
Yeah, so those were the only things that I was like, I feel like the leap up to difficulty and crazy, like there's a clip on our Twitch of 4 seconds into my run on crazy, I break a beaker because I didn't realize that could happen. It was like, I don't know how to, and again, I didn't know how to fix this, so it's just like, I guess my run's over. Cool game. Like, I actually enjoy having to figure that out because my next run I also broke a thing, but I'm like, I've got like I'm not going to pass this, so let me just play around and see what I can do, and that's how I figured out how the like fixing machine worked. But yeah, so that was my only thing is I felt like spilling didn't seem to matter, but it felt like it did, and that's just like a unfortunate bait and switch because in the moment you're like, but then afterwards you're like, well, fine, whatever, I'll just not like. Then suddenly picking things up isn't a big deal. I lose all as long as I don't smash it, it's fine. But it also took me out of the like game. It felt like it was less concrete. But yeah, what's really cool about the game is basically you go beginning, middle, hard, crazy, and tiny, and low grav. I think were all the settings, the preset ones, and they show you exactly what the plethora of settings are, and then you can go to custom and change them. So you can change your starting height, your like when the game ends height, how high you jump, the number of jumps you have, the like resilience of the beakers if you go into beaker breaking, etc. Like there's just like 3 pages of settings of like 15 to 20 settings a page, just making it your own experience, and you can go really dumb, like totally non-realistic, or also just really difficult. And so like one of the presets they had was low grav, and that was the last run I did, and it was fine. It was very easy in the sense, but it was also just fun having spent almost 2 hours with the game to then bounce around. Like you start really short, but you have like a double jump and low gravity, and I didn't even realize you had a double jump for the longest time. And it was just like, it was a really good way of just like, hey, I just want to play this game because I like it rather than I want to challenge. That's what that felt like. And having it as a preset and being like, if you pass normal, you'll have no problem with low grav, but also you'll kind of just have this silly smile on your face. But you'll still be like, because you start short, it was like I did the thing, which was get all my clipboards and put them on the floor, because there's no way, like I'm already too short to use the table as my service, and then like dealing with clipboards that didn't matter became a thing because I couldn't just fling it behind me because it was like, oh, that's where I planned out key 2. And so it was still kind of like organizationally interesting, even though it was not like super time pressure. So yeah, but 100%
to have
great game.
like that, like, it's just like, yes, just let me play the game, you know. Like Disc Room, it has a setting where you can just unlock all rooms. It's just like, if you want to explore, you don't particularly want to get all the challenges, just go see what's in that room, and yeah, it give people more options. But yeah, I thought it was a really clever game. It's sort of in that like I Am Bread Surgeon Simulator kind of
yeah, absolutely.
field, but this just feels like it's not just for gags. It feels like this.
It's very tight, yeah.
It's purposeful, and it's like there's an actual puzzle game here, and it's not just awkward controls. That
and it's a well thought through conceit as well. You know that can very easily up that difficulty level by just adding more steps to the things that you kind of have to do as well. It's very simple, but can be very complicated in the way that you kind of have to play it. Yeah.
I mean,
I was just going to say, it's just a good package. Like, I started watching your stream, and you're obviously concentrating on the game and couldn't see what was going on. But it's like, yes, the title and what's happening and everything else. It's like, oh yes, you're in a lab, so you must have done some weird, crazy experiment. It all just gels and all well together. It's just you find very few games where it's like, okay, you have everything just simming off the same hymn sheet and just makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, and I liked that when you changed difficulty levels, part of it was like different labs which had more space in them. So like the crazy lab also was the one with a back room, but also just the spread of the requisite machines was such that you couldn't see them all. Like you can be like, wait, where was that? And just sort of look up. You had to like walk around and be like, oh, that's where that is. And like that's just really like, it seems small, but it's very important. That like part of the difficulty is tracking where things are. And so having it so you can't just look and have to rely on your memory and like it's those subtle extra bits that just made it really, like, again, a much more cohesive puzzle game. And I think like our run on hard, I say our because Ben helped remind me where I put things, because I was like, I planned things out, but then in the tense moments, I'm like, wait, where did I put the thing? Like I have this chain of things I know I need to do, but I can't remember where I put them to start them. And Ben's like, it's behind you, and like that really helped. But like I think hard would be much harder if you didn't like front load all that busy work, which I think is a strategy, right? Like which you don't necessarily have to do, and you could probably pass hard and have to do a lot more jumping around as a small person to do it. But also with the tense moments, even after all that front loaded planning, I was losing track of things, but I had Ben in my backpack. And Ben's whispering in my ear, being like, wow, do this. I'm thinking of Yoda and Luke, by the way, with Ben in my backpack.
Does this have
them seagulls.
Does it have a co-op? Like, 2-player?
Doesn't.
That would be kind of funny.
Oh, you know what would be really interesting if it was 2-player where one of you was growing, the other was
I
shrinking.
was about to say the same thing.
It's like, oh, hello.
And it's called Size Matters 2, TOO, because Size Matters
Yo, good.
Yeah.
They can just release that now. Done.
Yeah. Residuals can be sent to PayPal /
Perfect. That's a good place for us to finish this week.
Honey, is it Rick Moranis who's in Honey?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Put him in it.
The Keymaster himself.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Because if it's 2 people, you have to see who the other character is. It's Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, there we go. We solved it.
Done. It doesn't even have to be them. It just has to be slight representations of them, doesn't it? To not even worry about rights and things.
Ben, the person who's growing, is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Hashtag millennial references.
Or yeah.
So what
And
are
then
they
there's a mod for it where you're Vigo and the guy that, you know, screams at the Ghostbusters and gets gooped at the end. That's also in Ally McBeal. That guy. You know,
Oh, that guy,
we
yeah.
can have Ghostbusters 2 mods
what's
for
his
this
name?
game and stuff. Like,
I wouldn't know his name.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
he just,
you were trying
the
to
guy
wrap
who
up, and
stands
then
there
we
and goes,
started
Vigo!
Yeah, I was gonna say all I can remember is Vigo. Oh, I gotta look that up.
You find out who that is. If you'd like to check out all the other content that we produce, you can go to outoflives.net to look at that. Check out our YouTube channel or stick around on our Twitch and look at the VODs over there as well. If you have a couple of minutes and would be so kind, please rate and review us on your podcast service or your viewing service of choice. You can get all of us at Tanked Upcast on most of the socials or Out of Lives Net on Twitter as well. I am at Nova_47. Lucy, you are
Juicy Loose Lines.
Aadil is
At Peter McNichol on Twitter.
perfect. What are you really?
Hashtag dancing baby. No, I'm at the Omniarch.
Good. I think that's everything. I think those are all of the things. I think that's everything.
Oh, we didn't even talk
shit,
about
we
our
didn't.
favorite
Fuck,
character.
no.
Yeah, Ben's all like, Ghostbusters, we must have already done all the other things.
I mean, the tangents normally come a little bit later, don't they? After the beers have kicked in a little bit.
I
Adam.
only have one, so
Yes,
Let's start with Lucy.
Small Tonkoko is my favourite.
perfect. Adel, what should you have?
Above all.
The measuring
Above
jug
a
didn't
whole
quite
jug of
stack up
measured
this
cup of
week.
water? Oh dear. I liked the left-handed giant a
Mhm.
lot, as I always do. It's it's like a dangerous, sessionable, sweet dessert imperial stout in the sense of you could easily have 2, 3 because it's just so light, despite itself. But I'm gonna give it to the Dolce cup from Brouwerij, Poesiat, and Cotter, collabing with Old Hickory, mostly because it's so interesting that you can have this hoppy aftertaste. So like, it's an imperial milk stout with some front-loaded, like sickly, almost sweet. Like Dulce de Leche is this like very sick, milky, sickly sweet, milky taste. Wow. And it's just very rich. Rich is the word I was looking for. And I said sick, and then I didn't know what I was doing, and then I tried to reverse it.
It's like cold puke.
Oh no, not at all. No. It's a rich. It's like a rich milky taste. This is a good thing, everyone.
Okay,
I'm saying
good,
this is a
good.
good thing, even though we've said a lot of bad things in the last 10 seconds. And it, like I said, rich, milky paste, which is very front-loaded, but the fact that it fades back enough so that the hops they have give it this, like, oh, this is a beer in a way that, like, Imperial Stouts just don't do, but it still tastes like an Imperial Stout. I've just not seen that balance, and it's really good, and it makes... I started the chat about this being like, this is very like a dessert beer, like, you know, you could end the night with it, but actually because it ends on this like slightly hoppy beery note, you could chain these really easily because it's like really sweet, strong, broad Imperial stout with a lot of sweetness, but it finishes not super sweet, but actually kind of dank, kind of hoppy, kind of bitter. You're like, huh, I finished beer-wise, so I could have beer. While When the Moon Collapses Stroopwafel Imperial Stout is just this, again, not a bad thing. It's doing the sweet Imperial Stout. It's leaning into the sweetness. It's giving a really nice, desserty, stroopwafel-y taste, which I have nostalgia for because of my time living in the Netherlands. It's very good. It's just not. This is just surprising, and it's it's surprising such that I want to have another one, but also because of its taste and the curve of its taste, I could easily have another one. While like
yes.
after this, I would just want another beer sufficiently and have another one of these because I actually am quite sated by its sweetness and what it's doing. This is a very good beer to end the night with, but this is a good beer to like start and then continue the night with in a way that I've never really had a like sweet, leaning into sweet imperial stout ever do this. So it's really interesting. Try and find this if you can.
Nice. Perfect. For me, I think it's going to be the Newtown Park and Left Hand Giant collaboration. Whilst the Harbour and Arbor,
The Arbor,
it flowed very well through those flavours. It left me a little bit cold. It finished really quickly. The flavour disappeared quite quickly, and that was kind of it. Whereas the Newtown Park Left Hand Giant had a lot of lovely flavours. They stuck around. It flowed quite well, and it feels like a big beer. You know, it's 8% versus I think 7%. It feels like a bit of a bigger beer. You know, the mouthfeel was a little bit more rich. The flavours in there kind of presented themselves a little bit more distinctly. You know, this was kind of like, oh, this is happening. Maybe there's a little bit of this. Maybe this is kind of going on. This was like, yeah, there's that. Bam. This is really good. So for me, it's the Newtown Park and Left-Handed Giant, which I suppose kind of makes sense. A new brewery in an old brewery, an old brew kit, but being brewed on in collaboration with the people that used to brew on it.
you said brew a lot, and I honestly lost track of that sentence.
Exactly. Confusing, yet excellent. That's how I feel most days. But yeah, it's that beer. It's that beer.
I mean, yeah, the pink one.
Yes, the pink one. Yes. So that's it for all of our beers. I've already told everybody, all the things, where they can go, what they can do, and how they can support us. For another week, we've been tanked up.
Sorry, that pause really got me. I know you're wrapping up, but I'm laughing. All right, bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net